Hello, this is Brendan, and welcome to the 96th episode of my illustration show here. And in today's episode, I'm going to do this. I don't know if I'm doing time-lapse or not. I guess I'll do time-lapse. I have to finish this. But I just want to review one of these. This is for a client, and I asked their permission, of course, first to show this to you. We're making sort of a storyboard slideshow style comic book. So it's going to have background music, and there's about 30 scenes, and each scene will just have one illustration. So here's a couple of the previous illustrations that were, a girl walking through the forest. I'm not going to tell you anything about the story, because that's, that's for the client. When they're finished, that's their product. That's up to them. But I'm just going to, I just want to show you a little bit about how. About the workflow here, and then you get to see a live product in action. It's kind of fun. So first of all, I made sure that the dimensions of this were to scale for YouTube, which is ultimately where the video will probably be displayed. And also, if you were to go on to, I don't know, put the film on to like a television or something, about this scale usually seems to be a universal resolution, and I'm not even sure what it was. I might have doubled the size. Let me check. I have it at 3000. I'll just call it 3840 by 2160. I might have doubled that just to have a finer resolution, but that's what it is. And 300 DPI just in case somebody watches it on TV, large screen. So that's one thing to keep in mind first. And then the process, what we did is, at first we started off kind of like this. I might have had a gray background. And I made a sketch. You can see a little bit of, we get a black pen out. And so this whole sketch is on a sketch layer. And you can see a little bit of blank space over here. That's because the client, who is basically fundamentally the director in this case, the first sketch I did, I had the girl over here a little bit more. He decided he wanted her front and center. So I just cut her out, moved over there, and he was happy with that. And so then we went ahead and continued. So with that, I have my my base colors here, which come from the previous colors that I've used. And at this point, the only reason I have these is to make sure that my colors are not too out of whack. You want to be consistent, right? And also, I forget, there's a certain type of you don't use perfect white. If the wolf, as you can see, is like half white, and well, it should be half white, half black. He's got that look to him. But if I were to make him pitch black, then well, you wouldn't be able to see things like his eyebrows and stuff. Just make it as dark as I could, sort of a dark gray. And then other things, color variations happen. So I don't want it to vary too much, so I just have all that stuff there. So right now, I had the sketch done. That was approved. I added the base color. I want to, right now, what am I going to do? I'm going to fill in a little bit here. One thing you can do in GIMP, the symmetry is not very good. I can tell, and it's probably because I moved it around and played with it a bit too much. But one thing you can do in GIMP is make sure that you select these it actually makes a chain symbol. And so if I highlight over that, does it say anything? I don't know. I forget what it is. I think in Photoshop they call it lock. So it's to lock the layer. So if you lock multiple layers together and then perform an action like flip the screen, flip the screen, then they'll all do the same action. So also if I were to like resize one of these layers, they would all resize. That's what that lock is for. It's to lock multiple layers together so that they all do the same thing. So now once I do that, I can very quickly see what part of my problem is here. There's definitely, I want a sketch layer, so I'm going to use black. There's definitely a little bit of imbalance. I can just sense it. I don't know why. It happens a lot. I call it a leaning effect, and it's very, very easy. If you have a good art teacher, they'll point it out to you. It's very easy for this to go unnoticed, and people will just say, something looks kind of funny, but I can't tell what it is. The leaning is where there's too many lines seem to be going at the exact same angle, right? And why is that? It's because you're being lazy, right? No matter how hard you try to like sit up straight, move your arm, you're not really focusing on the character as much as you are just letting your hand rest. And for me, I mean, forget about laziness. There's definitely no laziness. And anyone who knows me well enough, I'm working here. But the problem is the hand just kind of wants to rest like that. And it's really, really hard to break out of that. So flipping the canvas allows you to see those spots, and your eyes just get used to it too. So it's kind of a hard thing, really hard thing to work on. But anyway, if you can't tell with this scene, what's happening here is the girl, female character here, she has the wolf behind her in the background there. And if you really zoom in, you can see he looks a little surprised. His mouth is kind of open there. That's on purpose. And she looks a little bit like suspicious, a little bit stunned. Something's going on. And that's all you need to know basically for this scene. I also feel like her neck is a bit long. I might move that down a bit. Something I keep doing. The reason I keep doing that is because she has a lot going on about her neck. And I'm talking about the we have here there's like the clothing around her neck and the hood and all this and that. And so by the time it's all done, I kind of like made that too long. So first I'm going to move that. Let me turn off. Something didn't work. Let me move this down here. I'll turn off this color layer. It's confusing me. I have to use the mouse. Alright, so I moved her head down a little bit. Let me see. Kind of hard to do with all these colors and things in the background. I think that should be more normal. Look at the length of her neck. It shouldn't be like, obviously it should not be up there. It'll be down here. Someplace a little bit. So I had it here. It was definitely too high. Actually, if I just bring it down a little bit like that. You have to understand sometimes with these things, when you're drawing, that tiny little bit of space, if you were to make it in reality, it represents like a full inch, right? A tiny little space like from here to here in a cartoon. That's a lot of space in reality. So let's say you might think it's not a big deal at first, but what if I were to take the neck of one of your friends or family members and suddenly make it an inch longer? Well, that would I think it would be very noticeable, right? So it's worth taking the time to nitpick on these little things. Now, nitpicking is a word a lot of people think is negative, right? I always say nitpick. I hate to nitpick, but I have to point this out. It has a negative connotation to say that word. But, what are we doing here? We're doing art, we're doing drawing. People look at these little things, and this is one of those things where you can nitpick. I've always thought nitpicking is a good thing. That's how you get perfection, right? So that's pretty much about all the process. Normally, I think I'm going to talk for only about 2 or 3 minutes, and it ends up going on for 20 minutes. I think I covered all the essentials there. What I'm going to do next, as I so often do, I feel moderately happy with how she looks, and I got to relock those layers because I merged them. Go back to where I was. I feel a little bit happier with that. I can still change things as I move along. But as I so often do, I'm going to cut out the sketch of the girl. This is not necessarily recommended practice. I just simply haven't found a better way yet. And in most cases, if I were to do it a different way, it wouldn't make a huge difference. A lot of people who are like scientific at things, they think, you could save a whole minute of time if you were to do it a different way. Well, I don't care about saving a minute of time. If it saves me hours of time, okay. What's going to happen here is I'm just going to cut out the sketches of both the wolf and the girl. I'm going to merge them down with the color layer that I had separate for them. So I merged down. So now the wolf and the girl and their sketches, well, they're supposed to be all in the same thing. Is that? Oh yeah, that is right. Okay, good. So I can then turn them off and go back to the background. And I'm also going to merge the sketch So the rest of the sketch, which no longer has the girl and wolf in it, I'm going to merge down the rest of the sketch into the background color. So I had the background color and that color separated. I always want to separate the characters because later on, no matter how realistic you're trying to be, at the end of the day, you usually end up wanting to apply some special effects to the characters to make them pop. It's the most important thing, no matter what you're doing. Even if you look at ancient paintings, they will sacrifice being realistic for the sake of making the characters stand out. So now, if I turn off the characters, I have them on one layer, and I can just focus on the background here, which is, it's good to get the background out of the way first, in my opinion. It always, well, that works for me. I'm not saying it's for everyone, but that's what I do. I'm just going to start coloring in like this, and slowly get rid of those black lines. And then when I go back to the characters, it's going to be the same thing. I'll grab a color here, start to flatten things out, and slowly remove the black lines while also adding some light and shade and details and stuff like this. So I'll go ahead and do that in time-lapse. Hope you guys enjoyed that. If you have any questions, feel free to comment or contact me on my website, bschu.net. You can follow my newsletter. My new newsletter is doing very well, actually. I have a lot of really awesome stuff. The back issues, the previous editions that I did are also on my website, so you can see whether or not you want to go ahead, even if you're interested in that kind of stuff before you subscribe. You look at the back issues. Well, it's still kind of new, so there aren't many back issues, but the most recent ones are pretty good. Check that out. And that's it for now. I'm going to go into time-lapse. If you liked, please do subscribe. I need more subscribers these days because YouTube is changing their policies. A subscription is very useful now. I have to get up to 1,000 subscribers if I want to monetize. If I don't end up meeting that goal, not a big deal. It's not like I'm not. My life's goal was to become a famous YouTuber, but while I'm making these videos, it's not hurtful because obviously making money as an artist can be challenging to say the least. So yeah, we'll go in the time lapse. That was just a little bit of extra info for you, and enjoy the time lapse. And we'll see you in the next episode.